Okay, hello everyone. I'm going to give this a few minutes just to make sure that we are live. Looks like we have, okay, awesome. All right, I'm going to give this a few minutes for everyone to hop on. I am so excited for you guys to meet my friend Marshawn. This is going to be one incredible evening. We have been really looking forward to this. So let's see, just a second. Wants to be in your video. Are you ready to pull her in? So guys, just as we're adding Marshawn to the video conference, just want to let you guys know, hello. This video is not one company related or anything like that tonight. This live interview tonight is truly for every woman that is out there. So I know I have a lot of friends in the industry that are building other businesses. You have team pages, group pages. Go click the share button. You're going to want your friends hearing about this tonight. So definitely do that. I'm actually going to hit the share button a little bit more and make sure that we are able to share with the masses. And those of you that talk to me all the time, you know how often I use the word excited, and Marshawn has just recently been introduced to how often Mauria uses the word excited. But when, you know, that's just a really good word right now. I'm super excited about this evening. So let's go ahead, hit the share button in a few more pages, and we're going to get this started. Yay. Can you hear me loud and clear?
I can hear you perfectly all the way in Georgia with your Texas accent. Reminded me back of my hometown or my home state.
I love it. You know what's been fun, Marshawn, as we started promoting this interview, we've had a lot of, obviously, you know, a lot of mutual friends that we already had, but it's been fun to see comments of, you know, from people that know me and vice versa. There's a girl on my team actually that's known you since third grade. She said,
Nancy Britton.
Yes. So I thought that was pretty incredible. So, all right,
wait
guys.
a minute, y'all have the same last name. Your maiden name is her last name.
Okay.
I just thought of that.
It's crazy. All right, guys. Well, we're going to go ahead. Like I said, this is not company related at all. This is me sharing something incredible that I have found from a good friend. And it's so, I have to tell you, Marshawn, a friend actually sent me a picture just a few minutes ago before we hopped on, and it was a quote. It said, "We have one life. Why aren't we running like we are on fire towards our wildest dreams?" Wow. So that was very appropriate right before we launched the call. Obviously, Marshawn and I share a lot of that in common. So we're going to go ahead and kick this off. I just want to kind of introduce Marshawn to my friends. That's one of the things I've been most excited about today. So, like, Marshawn and I go way back. 20 years ago, yes. We actually met each other through our involvement with the Miss America organization. Yes, and obviously through Facebook, we've been able to stay connected and well, reconnect and stay connected, and yes. You know, really just celebrated in each other's journeys and empower women. Yes. And so it's been fun for us to, you know, watch each other and celebrate with each other. And just to give you a little bit of background on Marshawn, she went to law school as an attorney, was a former sports attorney, and she's basically a serial entrepreneur. She is incredibly committed to helping women just, you know, find their purpose. And she's actually the founder of She Profits, which that's where she actually helps women turn their ideas into income and faith into action. So Marshawn, elaborate a little bit more on that. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, so my friends know a little bit more about you before we start talking about Believe Bigger.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, first of all, so much for having me. I completely, totally honor who you are, what you stand for, what you've built, who you've become, and how you embody what it truly means to believe bigger. As you mentioned, we do go way back. I believe that you're kind of forever connected to someone who you probably sprayed butt glue on in the back of right before a swimsuit competition to make sure that all your unmentionables don't show. So we go way back, and I'm so honored by your journey and proud to be connected back in this time in your life, in our lives together. And I think purpose brings people together and destiny at the right time. I also want to say hi to all of those who have been a part of my community and are getting to meet Mauria for the first time. She is a woman to watch. And so I'm so excited about this conversation. So about me. Again, I'm Marshawn Evans Daniels. I lead the largest coaching company for women of faith in the country, helping them to increase their income and their influence. I have this crazy idea that women who love God should be the ballas, the shot callers, and should be the new millionaires. And so that's my mission, is to help women of faith to step into their $1 million potential. I love this woman in this book I like to read called the Bible. And in Proverbs 31, her story is very clearly outlined. She was a mogul. She was a maven. She was creative. She was a mom. She was a wife. And I didn't really see myself represented anywhere else but in that book. And I thought, well, if this is bothering me, it would be time. Maybe it's because I'm supposed to help ignite other women. And so that's what I do. I lead mastermind programs, conferences, and help aspiring, emerging, and established entrepreneurs, influencers, and thought leaders to build multi-million-dollar enterprises using their voice, their ideas, and their expertise, and their talents. And so I took a 3-year sabbatical, and during that time, which was challenging because I had built a very successful business. Our events were generating 7 figures in 3 days. And I heard God say, it's time for you to pause and it's time for you to take a break. And I was like, why? We're just finally figuring out, like, we know what we're doing. And it was during that time that an agent reached out to me and said, have you ever thought about writing a book? And I had written a book before, a business book, after I was on the show, The Apprentice, with that was hosted by our now president, and had been in the Miss America competition, was 3rd runner-up to Miss America, and I always wanted to continue writing more. And it was during this sabbatical time of taking a break, which is hard for us entrepreneurs to do, that it really dropped into my spirit that it was time to teach what I had learned in helping other women change and reinvent their lives, overcome fear, step into a new life. And so that's where Believe Bigger came from. And it was an opportunity also for me to be more transparent and to share a story that's maybe not my favorite, but each of us as a woman, we have a story. People look at the glory part, but they forget the stormy part behind it. And I didn't want to present a false brand. I wanted to have an opportunity to really tell what happens to us as women when we're on the path of pursuing purpose and bigger.
I love it. I love it. Well, and as you guys can see, you know, one of the biggest things that Marshawn and I have in common is using our voices, using our stories to make an impact. You know, that's what we do. And so I have to tell you guys, yes. So a couple of months ago, Marshawn and I had been communicating via Facebook Messenger a little bit. But there was a day a couple of months ago where I opened up my inbox and there was this email that basically was an invitation from Marshawn to take a look, to actually get an advanced copy of Believe Bigger, and to be a VIP ambassador, just basically helping her launch the book and giving her, you know, some feedback. And of course I was honored and excited and agreed. And I'll tell you what, the book came and it was right around Christmas, and Marshawn, I even made a few excuses not to get started. But I don't believe in coincidence. And I think God was doing some things with me to kind of get me ready to open the pages of this book. And I am no stranger to personal development. I have made a huge commitment for a long time. Obviously, with what I do, I lead a multi-million dollar business. And there are people, there's a lot on here right now, but there are people that are looking to me every day for guidance. And, you know, as a leader, I can't pour from an empty cup. So I understand personal development. I am always seeking. And as a believer, I'm always going, okay, God, what do you have for me next? What are you wanting me to do with what I have? Which is exactly the position he was getting me in as I was procrastinating opening the dadgum book. So, guys, I'm telling you, I open the book and instantly I go from Mauria's giving Marshawn some feedback to, oh my goodness, this is, I am a student. And I mean, I'm serious. This book I have written and notes and underlined. And as I'm reading, I'm going, oh, my team needs to see this. They need these words. You know, my girlfriends need, you know, it wasn't just for people in business that needed to see this and hear your story and your journey and the truth that you have in this book, that women, I think in the first conversation, of course, I use the word excited 20 times, but it is genuine in saying every woman I know needs this book. And that's why we're having this interview tonight. Believe Bigger, yes, it releases, the official release is next month, but it is available for pre-order now. And we're going to talk to you guys some more about that. But Marshawn, I want you to share, what was the inspiration? This is not the first book you've written. What was the inspiration behind, the true inspiration behind Believe Bigger? Where did it all start?
Well, I'm tearing up listening to you talk about this because I respect and admire you so much. And when I reached out to you, I was actually hesitant. I was like, well, God kept laying you on my heart. And I was like, well, I don't think I've seen Mauria since we were backstage, or maybe we both went to TCU as well, but it's been a minute. But you embody a woman who just believes bigger. And so, listening to you talk about how it impacted you, girl, and that you are leading women and you get it, that you get that we can be more than what we've been through. So for me, I was engaged several years ago to an amazing man, very talented, charming. And I was running my own company at the time. So I'm a lawyer by trade. I went to Georgetown for law school. I used that money. Actually, I used the money I got from competing at Miss America, being third runner-up, getting $80,000 in scholarships to help me pay my way through law school, actually. And when I finished law school, I did the show called The Apprentice, as I mentioned. So everything was going really well. I had this great legal background. I left my law firm early after about 1.5 years to start my own sports agency. So I'm managing professional athletes in the NFL and the NBA. My first client is the highest paid defensive end in the NFL. He had just signed a $62 million 7-year deal. And so here, I'm young, I'm 25 years old. I moved to Atlanta, been on this national TV show. I'm doing TV commentary for ESPN and CNN. I run my own sports agency. I'm sitting on the 50-yard line at all these NBA and NFL, well, 50-yard line at the NFL games, and then courtside at NBA games, representing WNBA players and some Major League Baseball players as well. So life is good. And on top of that, I'm engaged. And I'm getting ready to move to Chicago to be a bonus mom to 3 amazing kiddos. And then 6 days before my wedding, I discovered something that completely changed my world and flipped it upside down. I discovered that my then fiance was cheating on me. And I would like to say that my motivation for doing this book was to teach women strategies about how to change their lives, and that's definitely in there. But my motivation was really to be a truth teller, to finally, like, I practice transparency, but I don't really like transparency. Like sometimes we have to do the things that we're not comfortable with, because that's really where the real breakthroughs go. In this social media world that we live in today, we want to package things well. And I've been a branding expert. I branded pro athletes. That's how I built my agency. It became the fastest growing woman-owned sports agency in the country in less than a year. I have built my coaching business teaching branding and packaging and marketing and sales and how to get to yes, how to put forth your best presentation and your image. But I didn't think that I really had a story. I didn't think that I really had a voice, and I didn't know or believe that anybody would really listen to me talk about heartbreak or what it was like having to recover from the embarrassment of a public engagement. I didn't know that anyone would listen to me talk about depression. And I was embarrassed that I was in that space in my life, because here I've got this degree, I've got these fancy books, I'm on television, all these people look up to me. I'm the one who's supposed to have it all together, and I'm the one who's always counseling and praying people through these circumstances. And here I find myself on my knees, not clear if the sky is really blue, if the grass is really green, and how did I end up in this place right now? And so, yeah, I've been able to reinvent my life, and people will look at a successful multi-million-dollar company now, but I wanted to tell the truth. And that was really the motivation. I believe that one of the principles I talk about in Believe Bigger is the concept of split rock moments. And I'm sure you remember that in chapter 3. And at some point in your life, disruption will knock on your doorstep. And if we don't have a destiny-minded perspective, the disruption can destroy us. It can detour us, and it can devastate us. It can break our spirit. It can introduce a new level of fear that we've never, ever known before. It'll create doubt and worry, anxiety, hesitation, comparison. And it'll cause us to have the type of doubt that will lock us out of the future that we are built for, that we are made for, that we're destined for, and birthed for. And so I wanted to tell the truth. I wanted to help women discover their purpose. And I wish I could say it was about something all nice and rosy, but it was disruption that awakened my destiny and a desire to help women and to come from a more transparent place. And so the subtitle to Believe Bigger is Discover the Path to Your Life Purpose. And it was in this process of me rebuilding my life that I found my purpose, and now I've been able to help women step into theirs. And the last thing I'll say in terms of motivation is that I realized after coaching now thousands of people, hundreds one-on-one, but thousands who've been in our programs, millions who've watched around the world, I have seen that the majority of people on the planet, believers included, do not know their purpose. We can't articulate it. And I wasn't okay with that happening on my watch. And so that is why I wrote this book, so that I have an intention now, just like we have the 5 love languages, and we use that now as common language, that every single person who picks up this book, or even those of you who get this book, will be able to teach other people this language, that we will have a new language to talk about purpose, where it's not this mysterious thing. It's not just hype. It's not just inspiration. It's not just something we know we're called to, but you can finish this and clearly articulate exactly why you're here, knowing what your gifts are, knowing what your voice is, and what your superpowers are, because it is impossible. It is impossible to fulfill your life purpose if you don't have clarity about what it is. It's not supposed to be an accident. It's not supposed to be happenstance. It's supposed to be intentional. So those are my motivations.
I love it. And, I think for me, with over the last 4 years, I have specifically worked primarily. But it's no mystery that the majority of our organization is women. And so the conversations that I'm often having, with people, involve that so much. One of the things that we've said is we've taken, average, ordinary people, and they've experienced extraordinary things because they found a vehicle for them to fulfill their purpose. I can't even tell you how many mamas I talk to, and they love being a mom and a successful in their careers, but there was a missing link, which involves for a lot of people it involves making an impact. So again, as I'm reading, I'm like, oh my goodness. So as we're talking about that, I think another neat thing that we need to kind of transition into is finding your purpose is a huge piece to the puzzle, but what often holds people back from going at taking that step, making that move, there's a lot of things that go into that, and a lot of that consists of self-doubt. And one of the favorite chapters in your book for me was the chapter titled Shrinking or Stinking Shrinking Thinking. I can't articulate that with a G on the end.
Say it 3 times. Now, you are a speech pathologist by trade. You should
No, that I am a small town Texas girl. TCU speech pathology program would be mortified. Yes, but the stinking, shrinking, thinking, those little me voices. Women, one thing I have learned, women are so hard on themselves. They are their worst enemies, their biggest critics. They hold themselves back. I do. Honestly, Marshawn, just it doesn't matter how much success that I may have had in someone else's eyes. It doesn't matter that the income that I've been able to reach, which is it's a blessing. It's been but regardless, in my just journey through this as a student, I realized, I've been lying to myself about a lot of things. And it's that little me voice, even though I am daily on a mission in helping others, shut those little voices up, and helping them find their potential. That's something that all of us struggle with. It doesn't matter the success you've had in anyone's eyes, but that is something that women struggle with. So talk to us about this chapter with the stinking, shrinking. Oh, I put the G on the end. Thinking. I did it.
Yes. Thinking, shrinking, thinking. I like it without the G. I like it more Texan. And so I actually, when you said that, I pulled the book out because I wanted to turn right to chapter 3. And so there's this battle that I talk about in Believe Bigger, the battle between little me and future me. And little me is the voice of fear. Little me is the voice of self-doubt and self-condemnation and shame. And as a believer, I firmly believe that there is an enemy that is after your light and is coming to steal, kill, and destroy your dreams, your health, your wealth, all the good things that are in store for you. And I don't replace little me with the enemy, but I do believe that little me is the voice of the enemy, in that it is the voice that gets us to make a case against ourselves. And it's why it's so slick and so cunning, just like a serpent that slithers in and makes everything seem rational. Like, you don't have that degree. Why should you apply? You don't have the resources that everybody else seems to have that's succeeding. Who do you think you are? And so it's that voice of lack. It's that voice of insufficiency. It's that voice of not enough, of something. But on the other side, there's the voice of future me. And future me is completely obsessed with your future. Future me, it says in the book, future me swallows up little me like a vitamin and eats it for breakfast. Yes. Future me is not scared of anything, most certainly not little me. Future me understands how amazing you are and is wholly committed to helping you understand how powerful, how fearless, what a warrior you are, your potential, your gifts, your abilities. Future me knows that when you unlock your superpowers, that all things are possible, that things begin to change, that your life changes, but so does that of those who are around you. And so we have these battles. It's kind of like the two little devil and the angel on a shoulder. And the key to really believing bigger is believing beyond your circumstances and the facts that little me portrays and gives. As a lawyer, you're taught to make a case. And as women, we make the most compelling cases against ourselves.
Yeah.
But what would happen if we were as passionate about other people as we are about our own potential? If we looked at our circumstances and said, well, you know what, that's an opportunity for God to use me to show people that it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what you have or what you don't have, that when you believe bigger, you can step into a bolder place in your life. And so one of the things that I wanted to read one of the quotes. One of the lessons that I write about in here, it says that bigger decisions birth a bigger life, but we can't make bigger decisions with smaller thinking. And that's why it is absolutely necessary for us to identify what our version of our little me voice is. And at new levels, there will be new devils in terms of new fears. And the last thing I'll say, and I outline this in the book as well, the reason why I call it little me and future me is because it's time to start taking responsibility. And that we keep blaming so many things on other people, but I'm responsible for my thoughts, nobody else. What happened to me is not determinative of what I think today and tomorrow unless I choose to give that power to somebody else. It doesn't matter what somebody else does, even if they are haters, even if they are wrong, even if they betrayed us. Betrayal is part of this process of stepping into your bigger. If you want to step into your bigger, if you've asked to be used in a much bigger way, if you desire to have a bigger impact, betrayal is coming, disruption is coming, unfairness is coming, and a wave of doubt is coming too. So being able to distinguish the difference between little me and future me is the way to step into your future, so you can make those bigger decisions that unlock a bigger life. And as you go through, I know we're going to talk about the purpose map, but as you go through the 5 stages of purpose, little me and future me are going to continue to battle, and it will be this way your entire life. But that's what warrior princesses are for. Just because there's a battle before you, it doesn't mean that you're not equipped to handle it. That's why we have to learn how to believe bigger. I got a little hype on that.
No, I love it. I mean, it's perfect. Okay, so I can see that there's a lot of comments. Looks like we've got a lot of people that have already pre-ordered. Let's just pause for just a second because I know people are looking.
Thank you for those who are
I know that you said that the book is available in 4 formats. Talk to them a little bit about that.
Yes.
So they can get the book. And we do have a few more things, so don't hop off yet, but we wanted to kind of let you share how they can get their hands on the book.
Yes, so thank you to those of you who are pre-ordering. I'm so excited about that. You can pre-order at believebigger.com or anywhere books are sold. If you like Amazon, christianbook.com, Books A Million, wherever. And it is available in 4 formats. So it's available in physical, a hardback. It is available digitally. It's also available via audiobook, which is becoming really popular, and via audio CD. So the other thing about if you decide, and I know some people, you have such an amazing community, such an amazing community. Some have already purchased the bundles or multiple copies to be able to give to their team members. And this is why I love women who are in business and who are in direct sales or who are in sales, period. Because we think about other people when we're focused on ourselves. And this is how leaders think. This is how purpose-minded people think. When I do this, when I see something that I love, I'm automatically thinking about who am I going to take to the top with me and how am I going to help them elevate and grow. And so that's the type of, those are the type of people I like to roll with. So what we created at believebigger.com are bundles for those who are leaders, for those who are next level thinkers and want to take other people to another level. And they're bundled in 3 packs, 10 packs, and 25 packs, and so on. You can go to believebigger.com and you can see the bundles and the gifts that you get. One thing I want to say, if you buy even just one, or I should say invest in, because I believe in an investment mindset. If you invest in even 1 copy, you will get a complimentary vision board workshop with me on March the 5th. And vision boarding is something that I love to do. I've taught about it on national television multiple times. Look, every time I've done a vision board, within 24 to 48 hours, and I kid you not, a television network has called me to be on television nationally to talk about vision boarding. It is every time, including this year.
Okay, so wait a second.
Example. What'd you say?
I love it.
So I actually had a few. I had my husband bring up a few. Like, I'm such a big vision boarder. I'll make it my background for a second. My Amanda. So I have like special things on how to do a vision board that's different than what most people talk about, like using your picture, how to showcase it, how to create themes, and how to really put your vision into place. And one of the things you'll see in Believe Bigger also is the journey to how I got this new ring with a new man and really reinventing my life, starting a new business, but also finding love again as well. But what's interesting, on my very first vision board that I did, 3 months after I met my now husband, there's this ring here, right? I love telling this. Yes. I never get tired of showing this. So there's this ring here. So I did this vision board 3 months after I met him. This was the first vision board I ever did. And this ring is like almost exactly the same. And I didn't know that until after we were engaged. And so I believe in vision. I believe in visually manifesting what it is that you desire. So you get that complimentary if you get a copy of the book. So those of you who have already done that, please make sure you go to BelieveBigger.com. I'd love to pour back into you with this complimentary class, and tell others about it, and maybe have a vision board party. That would be fun, and invite others to participate. We actually do that.
Yes, so I love that you're talking about this so much, because that is something that we do a lot. I'm looking at my vision board. I'm sitting here going, how can I run over there and get, no, but we do that a lot, and we actually have vision board parties. So what I love is you're validating that it's not just a, network marketing thing people do. No. This is what you see. I mean, what you speak about, you bring about, what you see, where you are focused. That is what happens. I love that you have kept yours. One of my regrets is that I did not keep every single vision board. And my first vision boards, I remember, I mean, they didn't start out real pretty. And one of my biggest goals was paying off my student loan debt. And, it was just marking it out I love that you talked about that. And I love that that is a part of the pre-order process. Yeah. So this is huge for all of us.
Vision is the key to stepping into a new place. And so I thought it would be a fun way that complements the book. The book isn't about vision boards, but one of the first keys in changing your life when you've been through something devastating, whether it was being cheated on or losing your job or betrayal of some sort, your friends start going crazy, like if life just starts falling apart, the number one thing that you have to do to step into a new place is get a new vision, a bigger vision that's bigger than what you've been through. And guess what? That vision can't just be about money, houses, and cars. It's not going to be enough to pull you out of a place of, it's not going to be able to pull you into a place of significance. And so I believe in the whole picture. Like I like nice things. I love living in my dream house. I like having heated seats in the winter time, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But at the same time, I know that it's a byproduct of how many lives I've touched. And the more lives that I touch, I want that to be the way that I'm able to also increase the legacy for my family, to be able to send my future kids to the school of their choice, to be able to take care of my parents. You've met my mom before. I just came back from Dallas. I was with her for 10 days because she just had emergency surgery. And I've never been more grateful to be able to have my own business, to have my own flexibility, to be a pretty good boss to myself, to give myself the time to travel and be with my family when needed. And so believing bigger is part of that process. And so for those of you who go to BelieveBigger.com in any quantity, there's different bonuses available for the different bundles. And I hope you love them. I hope you enjoy them. There's classes. There's a 21-day Believe Bigger devotional for those of you who want to also deepen your faith walk as well. So I hope you love it, and I hope you enjoy the bundles as well.
They are going to love it. Okay, so the next thing that I want to talk about, I mean, there are lots of moments where I kind of did a little, I love it, yes, right, you hit this. I've said a couple of times, you knocked this one out of the park, but talk to everyone about well, one of the things I think that obviously is in a lot of conversations is just taking that first step. You have to make the decision, and you have to say yes. There has to be movement. There has to be action. But you said something about the word yes in your book. Tell us what that means to you.
So YES is an acronym that stands for Your Experience Shifts when we say yes. It's kind of like saying, let it be done, bring it on. And we can't, I always teach my clients in my business programs that you can't get results from things that you don't implement. And when you implement in business, it's the same thing as saying yes. When you make bigger decisions, you're saying yes. And so the question is, are we making yes decisions, or are we just avoiding no decisions? Like, right. There's a difference between that. A lot of times we've become great risk managers as opposed to risk takers. And when you're believing bigger and deciding bigger, you're really saying, I want to step into a shift. I want to step into a higher season, a bigger season, and I'm making decisions in alignment with future me. That's what your yes needs to stand for. And you need to have intention behind your yes. So when you're saying no to certain things, and the more intentional and clear you get about your purpose, the more you will say no, but it'll be with the intention of what you're saying yes to, because you know who you are, you know how you're designed, you know what your life mission is, you know what your gifts are, you know what your voice is, you know where it's needed, you know who you're assigned to. And that's when amplification in your life really begins to happen. So YES stands for Your Experience Shifts.
I will be using that over and over and over. I just have to let you know.
Please
so I know we need to start wrapping up a little bit, but I have to share some of my favorite quotes, guys. One of the things I love, Marshawn, when you said you can't just seek the way, you have to seek the way maker. And God has planned so much for us. He didn't put us on this earth to struggle. He said he came so that you may have life and have it abundantly. And that is, I absolutely love that. You also said God is not going to force a better future on us. We have to accept it. And, that's as you go through that purpose map, as you, go through those stages where you're eliminating that little me and you're saying, no, that little me is incorrect. I will accept what he has planned for me, and I will be in alignment with everything that is. I absolutely love that. We see a mess, God sees a masterpiece. Oh my goodness. I could talk for hours about messes. I could.
Yeah.
But I could also.
Well, I would love, even if you're open, because I have always been inspired by how you've turned some messes into bigger. And when you text me, you're like, oh girl, this book. And I thought, it hit me, and I was like, Mauria has done the same thing. We all have something different that's disrupted us. But I know there are even a lot of people from my audience that don't know your story or some of your background. And I would love, even if you're open to kind of sharing a little bit about how you found some parallels in our journey, or how you found like your split rocks, or anything that you feel would be kind of in that vein.
Yes, absolutely. At the age of 21 years old, I became a single mom. I had these goals and these dreams that were planned for me, and there was an experience shift. There was a split rock moment, and that you talk about decision-making time. It was, oh my goodness, I now am bringing this beautiful, beautiful little girl that came into this world weighing 5 pounds and 9 ounces, who is almost 6 feet tall today and 17 years old. But there was a lot that went into that, a lot. There was, I was a title holder at that time. I had people looking at me to, be a representative one way, and there were messages that had to be sent. Mm-hmm. And I'm not able to do this. Thank you for your support. There was money I had to return.
Wow.
But it was, I will say, as a child of God, there were lots of moments of he's got me. But there were, I can't even tell you how many sleepless nights and how many stressful times and how many decisions that were made, you know, over the course of me just, you know, bringing her, you know, the pregnancy, bringing her home, you know, the night I brought her home, that moment of, oh God, what have I done? And how do I make the best life possible for this beautiful, beautiful baby? And, you know, there were decisions, and I couldn't just stop. I couldn't, you know, that's one thing. There was no time for just laying down. Mm-hmm. I mean, there was a baby that was waking me every few hours. And, you know, I believe that, I mean, I could talk for hours about grace. I could. And people that have been placed in my life at so many different stages of my life. I'm going to have to do a whole live over that one at some point, because I truly have been blessed with people that have been placed into my life throughout so many different stages, who have just, you know, pointed me in the right direction and encouraged me and believed in me, even when, honestly, Marshawn, during that stage of my life, so many people wrote me off.
I'm sure. I'm sure. I mean, both coming from like the pageantry background, I remember when you, I don't remember what your title was at the time, but I remember when you gave up your crown. And that is why I get goosebumps every time I think about it. And every time I see you post, I am just so proud, Mauria. Gosh, girl, because we come from this world of such criticism. Like, pageant people can be the fiercest. Some of them are on this broadcast, and you know if you were great, and you know if you were a hater. And some are just really, this was pre-real social media. They used to have these chat boards, and the chat boards were evil. People would talk and, they would criticize. I was told that my butt was too big, and I'm like a size 2. My elbows were too dark. I need to bleach them with bleach and with lemon juice and all these kinds of things. So you're already criticized, and people are looking up to you.
But they wouldn't post their names. They would hide behind a fake name.
Yes.
And criticize young women.
Yes.
And we really, looking back, we developed some thick skin.
Very thick skin. And when you're written off and you don't play the games and you don't do what it takes to be in politics, and I think I look back on that, and sometimes you're like, wow, I wish that things had gone a different way. But I look at it today and I'm like, I'm so glad that I developed the resiliency and the mindset of a champion that I had without kissing tail, without following the politics, because I know how to survive on my own and I know how to thrive on my own. And you represent that. And so I know the directors and the girls and the people, some people were just probably glad that they didn't have to compete against you because you were fierce. I remember you with that red top, the 2-piece with all the trim around it. Your girl, those of you who follow Mauria was a bad chick back then. She was a bad chick. I'll just tell you that. But I know the rejection that you faced, and I look at that as a split rock moment that you've turned into a bigger season. I did want to make sure I could share with the audience before we wrapped up about just briefly about the 5 stages.
Absolutely. The only thing that I have to add before you say that is what you will find, and this book really takes you through, is that those moments do not define us. You know, that's what I had to learn, and honestly, that's the grace that I give. I mean, I have a lot of mommy friends, and it is hard to be a mama. And your kids are making decisions, and you're praying for wisdom. And I mean, just literally 2 days ago, you know, I shared with one of my best friends, I said, what he's going through does not define him. Yeah. That, you know, and that's what I love. And honestly, Marshawn, that's why I love the company that I'm with and what we do, because it is provided where there's a will, there is a way. Yes. And anyone can say, I'm not done yet. And whatever has happened in the past, that is over. And I'm ready to make that decision to say yes, to allow that experience.
That's so good. Yeah. To allow it. Yes. That's good, Mauria, to allow it. Like, Are we, you know how we have these do not enter signs that we see in certain places, and we put do not enter signs on ourselves. So when you just said that, I'm like, yes, when we decide bigger, we allow something greater to come into our life. That's so good. I'm going to take that nugget with me.
All right, so go ahead. I know that you were wanting to close out with a few more thoughts.
Yes. So one of the things that I discovered in working with women, now I stumbled into the business of coaching on accident. I actually didn't want to work with women. I knew that this was part of where God was leading me, and I fought him tooth and nail about it because I had some really challenging and difficult experiences with women. I talk in the book about dealing with racism as a girl growing up. Some of the challenges of just being in the pageant world, and also professionally at my law firm, just straight up hazing. And I know that a lot of women have been through that, where because so many of us are first generation in our career fields, or have been, that other women, we haven't been taught to love and inspire and to support each other in what are traditionally considered competitive environments, where maybe there's only supposedly room for one. And so my experience hadn't been great. I was one of those women who used to say, oh, I just get along with men, or that is, most of my mentors were men, and I worked with professional athletes. And so when he was leading me to work with women, I started, and I outlined in the process how I ended up falling into this space. But in working with women, I discovered these 5 stages of purpose. And I believe that every single person on the planet will be asked to go through these. However, most people will never make it out of stage 2. Never make it out of stage 2. And I don't want that to be you. So stage 1 is called discover. And during the discovery stage, this is where we learn the do's and don'ts of life, who we're supposed to be and what we're supposed to do and who we're good enough to be. It's where people tell us how to fit in and how to play the rules. And this is where we as women adopt our disease to please and protocol and doing what we should do. This is where we get shoulded on a lot. And so in discovery, we develop what I outline in the book called the rules. And so what I want you to do as you go through Believe Bigger is to ask yourself, what are the rules that have been dictating and have really, some rules are great, right? Some of them are wonderful, and some of them have gotten you to a great place in your life, but some of them also need to go. So stage 1 is about discovery. Stage 2 is about talent. And talent is where we pick a lane, and that lane that defines us, it becomes our life. So many of us, this is our career. I talk about the 5 success mountains for women. It could be motherhood. It could be making a difference. It could be money. It could even be marriage. And so the question is, what have you allowed to be your label, and what mask have you been wearing, that mask of success in some sort? For most people, it's a career. You get to the top of this success mountain and you're like, what's next? There's got to be more to life than just this. And for me, this is where, for me being at a successful law firm, having this sports agency, everything was good. And this is where disruption came in and my split rock moment happened. That takes us usually into stage 3. And stage 3 is probably where most people are right now, which is what I call the gap. It's like that in-between place where you're in transition. You're not exactly where you were. Maybe you're feeling the nudge and the tug to do something new and different, but you don't know exactly what that is. And you're not sure how to get there, but you want to step into this bigger place that I believe is your promised land. And so what is happening in the gap, I really believe, is God taking you out of your comfort zone, bringing you into this center place, this growth zone of the gap, to get you to shift, to start changing, renewing your thinking, changing the way that you decide, and who you actually are. And that's why it can be painful and difficult and frustrating, is because you really are becoming a new person, a person capable of entering into stage 4, which is gifts. And gifts is where you really find out your voice and your superpowers. And you realize that you too have a story that needs to be shared. You have strategy, wisdom, insight, and gifts and abilities that probably have not been fully tapped into. So we go through, what are your gifts and how do you distinguish gifts from your talents? And one of the things I firmly believe is that all of us are called to lead, that God is not a respecter of persons when it comes to the intention that each of us lead and have influence. And so that takes us into stage 5, which is the stage of influence and leaving a legacy. This is why I love working with leaders and entrepreneurs, because we get it. We know that we are supposed to leave something for the next generation. And I outlined the new rules of leadership for women. And the question is not whether you're supposed to lead, it's where. And I discovered, and one of my favorite quotes in the book is, a woman's place is anywhere God sends her. And so you and I both talked about earlier today how we both face some rejection from being ambitious. Like sometimes the church, or just people who have kind of a smaller thinking about this, sometimes reject women who are ambitious, who do stuff that is non-traditional, who are trailblazers, and we don't wait for permission for someone to tell us to do what we've already been divinely commissioned to do. And so I want to just help us do this together, where we lead boldly, unapologetically, and that we go where we're supposed to go. For this one reason, we don't know what's on the other side of our yes. We don't know whose life is on the other side of our yes. And I talk about 2 key situations in the book that really changed my life. One, a woman who was getting ready to commit suicide, and the other, a woman who died of cancer. And we got to have a conversation the night before she did. And it was a woman that I didn't even know. And so she saw me on a show called The Apprentice, a business show. It was 6 months after it finished airing, and it was re-airing on CNBC. And her mom reached out to me saying that her daughter was dying from cancer, wanted to know if I would speak with her. And I was like, sure. And I remember right before the phone, like I was supposed to call her and the phone was ringing, my heart was beating. And I was like, what do I have to share with her? What do I have to say? This woman who's in Montana, who doesn't know me, but wants to talk to me, what do I say to her when she's dying? What do I say? And we talked, and I detailed the story in the book. But I did want to share this because I want us to understand how significant our yeses are. We talked, and during the broadcast, I asked her, I felt the Holy Spirit say, hey, ask her if she's saved. And I asked her, I said, Faith, so do you know who Jesus Christ is? And she said, and she says, well, I think so. And I said, well, are you saved? And she says, I'm not sure. I've never really understood how that worked. And so I said, well, I can be sure. And so we prayed together. And she said at the very end, she said, she said, if I had known it was that easy, I would have done it a long time ago. And the next morning I called her to check back in with her, and her mom answered and said that she had passed away overnight. And so it matters when we say yes. It matters that I was in a business show where it was cutthroat, and we don't know how our light is going to shine in places that are outside of a pulpit, that are outside of 4 walls, and that are outside of our careers. If we go and we belong wherever God sends us. It can be in mass market. You can have massive contracts. You can be in media. You could be at the grocery store, in the airport. You could be with your kids at a soccer game. We have no boundaries. We have no limits, but that's how important our yes is. This is why I am sharing my story and why I'm sharing my journey, because I believe that it is time for us to take off the limits. And I worked with my publisher, because it is published by Simon & Schuster's Christian imprint. And I wanted it to be put in the women in business category. And they were like, well, we don't really put Christian books in the business category, which wasn't a knock to them. It's just not what's been done ever. Just isn't done. And I said, I believe in this woman called the Proverbs 31 woman. And that's exactly where we belong. This is exactly where we should be thriving. And so this is really a test. This is a faith walk for me to go against with what they were saying of just being in Christian categories and going into the mainstream, trusting that our place is anywhere God sends us. So this is why I'm calling on women of faith and those who believe and are connected to this message to really support and showcase that our voices matter, that we're not just these compartmentalized people, that we belong anywhere that we're sent, and that our yes does make a difference. And so I want to thank you for having me, and thank you for supporting Believe Bigger. Girl, you have no idea how much I appreciate you, and I can't wait to support and showcase what you're doing whenever, ever you are ready.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. We have had nothing but hearts going at for about an hour. I think our first conversation lasted 30 minutes. Oh, 45. Well, we just went an hour.
I knew it was going to go longer.
Thank you guys so much. You now understand why I was so excited about this. Follow Marshawn, get your copy on the book. And this is going to be fun. I know that God told you years ago during your Split Rock moment that he was going to use your story to reach. I cannot wait. I mean, I know we're going to be able to see, but I don't even know that we'll be able to see all of it. The impact that you putting what you have together in these formats, 4 different formats for women across the globe. This is going to be absolutely incredible. So thank you guys so much.
Some people around, I'm going to be going on tour as well throughout the year. So if you go to BelieveBigger.com, stay connected. If you go to Marshawn.com, you can get on our email list. And I only say that because I'd love to see you in person. I'd love to hear your Split Rock story. I'd love to hug you. And make sure if I see you on the road that you tell me that Mauria sent you. And for those of you who have gotten your copy tonight, please tag me. I'm Marshawn Evans at most places on social media. I'll retweet you. I'll shout you out. And I want to also show those to Mauria to give her my thanks as well. So thank you again for having me. I hope to also that you enjoy the gifts that are at BelieveBigger.com. God bless all of you. Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Good night.